Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Patreon podcast. This week, I wanted to talk about compartmentalizing your creative problems. And this is something that I've been doing a lot lately with coding. I've been working on my Raise the Dead game, and I've realized that a lot of the creative obstructions that I've come up against are things that are generally related to interoperability, like one system trying to connect to another one. And a lot of coding just in general, but a lot of just kind of approaching creative problems is making sure that you understand like the boxes or the limitations of current systems. Whereas with it's like when you're working with music or something, you can worry about like the how the drums should sit in the mix, and that's its own like kind of creative problem. Whereas how it sounds compared to everything else is a completely different issue that you need to work on. So it's like how the drums are programmed versus how they sound compared to everything else is very, very different. And I wanted to kind of explore that a little bit more because I think that it's really important to break things down in that regard. I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on the programming parts. I have been working on my game, but I've also been creating essentially modules while I work on that game. So all of the future games that I work on, I'll be able to just copy and paste a bunch of code in, and it'll just work. Like it's designed to play nicely. It's designed to play nicely with pretty much any other system that I build. And they're all designed to be kind of expandable too. So I'm able to work on that and just drop it in, and then just it'll function, and then I can kind of customize it to how I want. I mean, a great example of this is the audio system that I have. I made for Color Jumper, and I've essentially been copy pasting that for pretty much everything since. Like it's undergone some changes, but not much. And I think that that's like really important. It allows me to have the flexibility and time to focus on the things that matter rather than just something that handles, you just need something to play audio sometimes. Like if I ever work on like a rhythm game or something that's a little bit more in depth, I will definitely, expand that system. But for the moment, like all I needed to do is to play audio. So let's just like have it play audio, And I think that that's been really important for me because that allows me to build the system, and then I understand those limitations of that system, and then I can connect them to other systems as I see fit or as I need. And I know this analogy kind of breaks down when it comes to music or visual art, but I think that it's still really important to kind of understand like sorry, I lost my words. It helps you understand like how these little blocks of creative problems are compartmentalized. So you can solve that problem and then move on to the next one. And something that I've talked about a lot is kind of the more macro view of this is like from project to project, sometimes it's good to compartmentalize those problems. Like I've been working on the Quiet Spaces album, and through that, I've been running into a lot of problems because like my to-do list just says make the album, which is not helpful. I think that it is helpful if I sit down and I approach this on a song by song basis and be like, okay, these are the kinds of names that I want for this album. This is kind of what I'm thinking for, the tone for the album as a whole. Like now that I have the tone and I have like some names that I can use as inspiration, how do I build stories and spaces around that kind of combination? And so all of a sudden I have ideas and I have ways to move forward to try to resolve these problems that I've been having, because creative blocks suck. And, I don't want to get as as detail oriented as just like, this is a song about walking through the woods and then you find a bear. And it's like, well, no, I don't want that, because that kind of ruins the creative flow of actually working on something. But I want a lot of the songs in Quiet Spaces to be kind of forest themed. So I came up with 8 or 12 song names that kind of have cool forest sounding names, and now I have kind of a starting point for all that, and that really helps me get moving on a lot of this stuff. So I feel that it's really important to understand, where you're running into problems, and if you are running into a problem, can you compartmentalize that? Can you break it down into smaller pieces? Can you basically isolate it from the rest of the system and then work on it that way? Like, I think there's a lot of different ways to approach this, and I really like this way of thinking, and I hope that this little talk, this sounds like I'm doing a TED Talk here. I hope that this topic allowed you to think about that. And if you're running into something, maybe consider, trying to break it apart and see if you can do that. So that's pretty much all I have. But thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter, and thank you so much for listening. I really genuinely do appreciate it. I hope that you have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you in the next one. Be remarkable.